is not what it used to be, Dana.
No, Tom Hanks said he would not take his Oscar-winning role in Philadelphia if he was offered that today. To quote him, he said, "Let's address this. Could a straight man do what I did in Philadelphia? Now, no, and rightly so." But that's a bit contradictory in itself, because if you've been offered the role, you could say yes, right? But I think we gotta... It's interesting because you have to look at it both ways, right? So if a gay man, or if a straight man can't play a gay man, can a gay man play a straight man? But I think what it was like back in the day, like if you look at Rock Hudson, for example, he kept himself in the closet because he did want to play straight roles. And if you look at the abundance of straight roles versus gay roles, this may not be the hill you want to die on.
It's a very interesting question, that, you know, the kind of different representations and what acting amounts to. And there is a kind of, there's a little impulse in me that just goes, it's acting. You know, you can be whoever you want to be. Some people pretend to be aliens. But on the other hand, I suppose you have to register that we're maybe moving into a slightly different culture where acting means something different.
No, but I also think that first of all, they always say this after the fact. Mate, you got your Oscar, you got all the cool stuff that came with it. Of course, everyone always turns around after and said, oh, yeah, once you've already got all the cool stuff. But secondly, there is an argument there that him as this sort of straight American, all-round American guy was what made that film powerful. And made it and brought the awareness, and relatable and stuff like that. Where like, oh wow, if the guy next door, he's got AIDS.
You're quite right, because I think there are people who are discriminatory, and even just a gay man in that role would tend to switch off. But also, too, what I think is he has star power. If Tom Hanks is in a movie, he's going to get more eyes to the film. But this has also been an argument that's been happening with transgender people, right? So women playing transgender roles, cis women, that is. But the issue is that it's this circle, right? So we don't have somebody popular enough that is gay to do this, but then it just keeps repeating themselves because they never get those opportunities or that chance to become as popular, which is why there's a really good show that came out, Ryan Murphy Pose. It was one of the first ones. It studied the gay and Latino ball scene in New York in the early 80s, and they actually used it was 5 trans women of color that led this. One finally got an Emmy, so hopefully we can break that trend and get people in the community the type of status that can bring eyes to the project.
But then what about, sorry to interrupt, but what about Denzel Washington, who played Macbeth recently? I mean, you could say conceivably that there were 1 or 2 black people in
what about Jesus?
You know, but no, exactly, of course. So if you're saying, would you now say you've got to be an Aramaic Jew to play Jesus, you've got to be a white man to play it? I mean, there are a lot of black actors now cropping up in BBC historical dramas. One played Anne Boleyn recently. That caused a certain amount of irritation. With
I'm waiting for Black Mary Poppins. Can you imagine the Black Mary Poppins?
But Anne Boleyn existed, right? So,
but people will still be upset. People would be so upset.
Macbeth kind of existed, but is obviously, you know, raised to a mythical level. I'm personally kind of fine with it, but I do think the flip side of that is you then go, I think a straight man can play a gay actor.
Well, I'd always wanted to be in Boys in the Hood.
Right.
If I could...
As the mailman?
I mean, a hood...
No, as Cuba Gooding Jr. If that's all. But I would like to say poor old Tom Hanks is actually very limited now in his role. This is because he's going to be in the new Elvis movie. He's playing Colonel Tom Parker. Number one, he's not a colonel. But number two, he's Tom Hanks. So he's having to accept every role now has to be called Tom.
But then again, then you can go you can go to the other far side of it, like the Wayans brothers in that movie White Girls, right?
Which is offensive for different reasons. Because it was rubbish.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I tried to watch that the other. I can't imagine.
What were you doing watching White Girls?
It's the high culture, and you're trying to watch that film.
Did your child force you?
What, you're talking about King Richard?
No.
Sorry, no, what? No, sorry. The Williams.
No, Williams brothers.
No, sorry, I missed this.
White chicks.
Girls. It was two black guys that...
And they dress up as white women.
Girls.
Oh, no.
That is very different.
Sorry.
I thought you were talking about the Williams...
Now you have to go check it out.
That's too high culture.
Now you have to check out White Girls.
White chicks.
White chicks, you're right, sorry.
Okay.
That's very funny. Okay.